Welcome to Picks and Bones. I'm your host, Eric. Tonight, we are sitting down with Joe Stamm from the Joe Stamm Band out of Illinois. Joe Stamm is a black dirt country rock artist. And if you don't know what black dirt country rock is, let me give you a definition straight from the man himself. Black dirt country rock is rural. It connects the earth to fields, to fence rows, to red-tailed hawks. It's blistering heat and brutal cold. It's a sunset falling beneath the edge of a dry cornfield in autumn. It's sweat dripping down a can of cheap beer in the summer. It's an old muscle car parked out back with grass growing tall around cracked tires. Black dirt country rock is people. It connects family to heritage, to community. It's old-fashioned Midwestern work ethic. It's up at dawn and sometimes staying up until the next. It's time-worn farmers at the diner having coffee. It's a preacher in the liquor store parking lot fighting his own battles. It's a high school football team drinking beer on the far edge of a cornfield where the sun went down. Black dirt country rock is sound. It connects an experience to bodies, to souls. It's a heartwarming laugh and sometimes a heart-aching cry. It's a deep bawl of a hound underneath a half moon. It's callous fingers moving up and down a screaming guitar. It's a tired voice holding notes at the end of a long show. It's a kick drum that rattles a glass. It's lyric that punches a gut. And it's a beat that pumps a fist. It's a place to hear the truth. And black dirt country rock is just music.
Well, that's cool to hear. That's cool to hear. Because, I mean, it really is just like a borrowed, it's an adapted phrase from red dirt because, I'm from the Midwest where we've got black dirt instead of red dirt,
Yeah.
So, it kind of is the lens of which I kind of send everything that I do through.
I hear you. What part of Illinois are you in?
Right, kind of. We call it Central Illinois. It's by Peoria.
Okay.
So
my mom's from Chicago, so I've spent a lot of time in Illinois.
Yeah, if you drew a line from Chicago to St. Louis, we're like right smack in the middle of it.
So God's country.
That's right.
You're in the actual country part of Illinois, which I've driven through, and it's incredibly beautiful. I mean, we've got hills and everything. I like being able to get out and go flat. I know we were driving to Des Moines, and I know this is kind of sidetracked. I was driving to Des Moines because my daughter was competing in the Junior Olympics. This was back in 2002. And I remember getting out, coming in from Illinois and everything, and I think I had to have been doing 100 out just through cornfields. And this cop passes me, and I'm like, oh, shit, I'm getting busted. And he just passes me waving, and I'm like, well, what's there to hit?
Yeah.
I mean, you can see for miles, and, the only thing you really got to worry about, I guess, would be a deer jumping out in front of you. Yeah,
we got plenty of those. And I live in kind of, I'm like, my house is half a mile as you crow flies from the Illinois River.
Okay.
And so it's there's hills and ravines and fields and different terrain, it kind of within a mile or so of the Illinois River. But if you go, I mean, I can drive 30 seconds the other way, and it's just like you're talking about. It's you can see for miles. So it's I like living kind of on that edge.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, then if you're good, and I mean our levels are coming in great, I say we jump on in.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we'll go in 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, let me introduce you guys to Joe Stamm. He is a black dirt artist, which, in the intro, kind of told you about. So I know you guys want to get the opportunity to, one, go check him out, and let's just have a conversation. Welcome to the show tonight, buddy. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for getting me on the show, man.
I've been
anxious to conversate with you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. I know. Go ahead and why don't you tell everybody about your new EP that you released back in October because I've listened to it multiple times, but I
Thank
know
you for doing so.
other people need to hear about it. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about it?
Sure. It's called Songs Out of Home, and I named it that because I'm in the middle of actually 3 different recording projects right now that are in kind of at different stages. One that's going to be a full band album that we're going to release and record in the studio. We're hoping to release that in summer 2020. Another one is called Stories Live and Unplugged, which is a show I played up here close to home in Peoria, Illinois, in a small theater, and last May, and we recorded it. It's just me, a guitar, and my other guitarist accompanies me on some of the songs. And so that's a stripped down stories songwriter type of album that's going to be released in February. And then Songs Out of Home, which we just released in October, I think October 17th. And we called it Songs Out of Home because I was working on these other projects and had all these songs, in those other 2 projects, there's like 25 songs or something that we're going to release over the course of the next year. But these other 3 songs just didn't kind of fit into those projects as much. And not because they weren't good songs or I didn't like them, just because the style of them, either the band wasn't really driving with them or they weren't songs I really wanted to play acoustic live. And so I took these songs down to Nashville with a guy I'd worked with before and some players I'd worked with before. And we cut them back last February. And they kind of got the full production treatment down there, and been excited to kind of release them. We released Lay Down, which is a single off that EP in July, and then we threw it on the Songs Out of Home album with 2 more tracks that like I said, we just put out there a couple weeks ago, and then released a new music video for one of the songs last week called I'll Buy It in Beer.
Yeah, I guess it's been a while. I've been busier than hell. My to-dos go on for miles. But don't forget, you're the one who left. Don't forget, you're the one who's gone. Sometimes you think it must be nice to be you. No bills to pay, no boss to answer to. No wife to please, no kids to feed. Yeah, in some ways, I guess you got it made. Oh, but man, we sure miss you around here. But hell, we can only cry so many tears. Oh, but man, we sure miss you around here. But when I see you again, don't worry, I'll buy the beer. Yeah, me and Jeannie finally got divorced. It was hell on the kids, of course. Could've really used you around to hash it out and knock some down, but I guess that just ain't happening anymore. I'll check on your wife and kids now and then to see if
That's another great song too.
Thank you, man.
And I love Dandelion Woman.
Thank you.
That
it
song,
tells you something about your listening habits, man.
yeah. I mean, I love that song, and it's, it kind of, you feel this, and it's like, it's like your parents saying she's just a weed, but
Yeah.
and you got to identify with it. Everybody can identify with that. We've all made bad choices and bad decisions in relationships. And Fetch Me is another really great one.
Thank you, man.
I mean,
the Dandelion Woman song, I don't know if I have this written anywhere, if you've read this before, but the idea started for that song, it can trace back to second grade. I remember I was out at recess one day, and, as kids do, I picked a bouquet of dandelions, took them into my teacher, and she
dandelion woman, so pretty to me. She lived in a trailer just down the street. I brought her home to mama, wearing my ring. Ma said that ain't no flower.
She just kind of said, "Those are weeds, Joe," and threw them away. And I never forgot about that, And some, a couple decades later, I turned that into a song and a story. And it's that song, that style of music. We recorded that song before we had any budget to go in the studios and stuff. We recorded that in my guitar player's bedroom, spare bedroom. And we had cables going down the hallway into another spare bedroom where the drums were and stuff. And that's the kind of style and that's the kind of music that you're going to hear more of when we release our full band album, because that's much more at the heart of what I feel like our sound as a band is, and what I would consider Black Dirt. You mentioned that Black Dirt thing. So if you like that, I'm excited for the next year because
I am.
It's going to be more of that.
I am too. I mean, and I think it's the music and your lyrics are very identifiable for anybody.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It's going to speak to you. And I can appreciate that. And I like, the recording style like you're talking about. I like things to be a little more raw. I don't like perfection. That's just me personally. I'm going to get more from a song, that it's not perfect. It's not the most perfect recording you've ever heard or anything else, because it loses that meaning and that feelings that are supposed to be elicited when it's I think overly produced.
And I think you're getting at authenticity too. I think we can all resonate with stuff that's not perfect, because who sits down for a day at work, comes out the other end of it and said, "Man, I nailed that. That was a perfect day." Not many people. So,
I can tell you that was not my day today.
Yeah, man. So that's cool. And in that vein, because you look at the Songs Without a Home album, that's like studio musicians and everything comes, and it's good. I'm proud of that record. Proud of that little EP. But it is on the kind of more of the canned Nashville type. I know I should be promoting my music here, but it's more of that canned Nashville sound versus kind of like like Dave Cobb, of course, produces like Stapleton and Isbell and those guys. He's famous for leaving imperfections in and stuff like that. And you're gonna get some of that in our full band album next summer for sure. Not to say, and hopefully it gets charmingly so, but in the Unplugged album that I'm going to release, the Stories Live and Unplugged album, which is a live performance, that I think that you can. My girlfriend, when we played the mixes after we got them back, she said it feels like you're in the room, which is cool. Like that was so cool for me to hear. So I think I'm really excited about that record too. That's coming up in February, just because I feel like these next two albums are going to be me, and both sides of me, the acoustic side and the country rock side, more so than anything I've done before. So I think I'm more excited about the stuff I've got coming out than I've ever been about any other project. So I'm looking forward to those. If you like imperfections and authenticity, you're going to like the next couple projects.
Awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. Yeah. I mean, and I know you're talking about, you can have a really well produced song. That's hands down and you're going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm a live music person. I mean, I saw Stapleton the other night and even though he sounds identical live than he does on a recording, you can still pick up little nuances that okay, this is what brings that true authenticity to it, because a note may go sharp or whatever that you weren't really meaning to go sharp.
But, right, and he's just rolling around. It was, at least when I saw him a couple of weeks ago, I played like a pre-party before he played the Civic Center here close to my place, and we stuck around for the show. He's just rolling around like a 4-piece,
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's
have.
all it was.
He's not playing the tracks, and he didn't have a steel player up there. He didn't have a keyboard player up there. It was just 4-piece jamming out, kind of a deal. So I get what you're saying. There's definitely a charm to that.
And that was something that I brought up to my wife while we were watching it, and I'm like, I said, I love the simplicity of this. Yeah. He doesn't need 8 pieces behind him to sound great. And
if you can sing like that, and write good songs, then it goes a long ways, man.
Now if you saw him a couple of weeks ago, that was when Kendall Marvel was opening, right?
He was. And I was listening, and it's funny, you talk about that. I was just talking about like rolling around with a 4-piece. I was just listening to a podcast with Kendall Marvel on Chris Shiplett's Walking the Floor podcast.
Yeah.
And he interviewed Kendall Marvel somewhat recently, and it's funny because we're in a situation like I have a 4-piece. The Joe Stamm band's a 4-piece, and it's just me. I'm playing a flat top. Dave's playing an electric guitar. John's playing a bass, and Bruce is playing drums, and that's all. And we don't play the tracks or anything like that. But kind of in that the Christmas list is to have a keyboard player. I love keys. I love organ, and but it's funny. Got Kendall Marvel, who's support for Chris Stapleton and has a song out on the radio and all this stuff. It's funny because even he was talking like, oh, it's just, I'd love to take a keyboard player and a steel player, but it's just not in the budget yet,
And this
I love that. I love that story.
Well, and he's been doing the Nashville thing, right? Singing and songwriting for what, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, he's been around for a while, man.
And he's actually coming on this show.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him at the show the other night, and we got to talking and everything, and I'm just like, I was kind of blown away because I'm like, I've been listening to this guy and have listened to a lot of the stuff that he's written, and you're just like, and just one of the most real guys that you'd ever meet. But now,
cool.
enough fanboying.
Yeah, well, you tell him I said hi. He doesn't know me from Adam and has no reason to, but I think he's from Illinois, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have to tell him, we appreciate the representation up here in Illinois because he's doing a heck of a job, man. He's got a good sound.
Well, something I always ask everybody, too. Now, when you're doing your shows, and I know your stuff is amazing, do you actually do any covers?
Oh, yeah. I've heard covers being described because there's covers I love to do, and then there's just covers that I have to do. Now,
that is the
don't get me wrong.
Don't
get me wrong. I had my standards, but the covers are, and I'm playing more and more all original shows. Anytime we're opening for people, everything's all original. This show I got Saturday, that I basically sold all the tickets to and everything. It's all original, but the cover like bar gigs, it's still kind of like, some people are working 2 jobs. You're pursuing your passion and you're working at Wendy's on the side to pay the bills. It's like I'm pursuing my passion and playing my songs, and on the side I'm throwing parties and playing cover songs.
Hey, you do what you got to do. What are some of your favorite go-tos though that you haven't completely driven yourself crazy over? Or just or made yourself so sick of it you just can't. You're like, oh shit, I gotta play this damn song again.
Yeah, I really like doing Dwight Yoakam songs. We got a couple Dwight Yoakam songs in the set, and those are always fun. I look forward to those. We've got a Tyler Childers song in the set that's a lot of fun to play.
Which one are you doing?
We're just doing White House Road.
Okay, great song.
Yeah, it's because when you can be pig-headed and say, all right, I'm going to go into this 3-hour bar gig and play whatever the heck I want, and I don't care what the audience says. But that's just foolish, you know. So you try to find those songs that are on the line, you know, that are as close to really where you want to be as possible, but you can still be proud. And you can still be proud playing, but that, you know, is going to be for the guy that came to drink beer and hit on women. You know, he's still going to like it too. You know, you can't please everybody, but I try to walk that line between what's gonna be a good time for everybody and what's gonna you know, be close enough to my principles.
Well, at least it's not Freebird.
No. We do occasionally play Sweet Home Alabama, though. So we are guilty of that guilty pleasure.
Stapleton actually busted out with a little bit of Freebird the other night, and I was like, "The hell, you were beyond this, man! You were beyond this."
If you can pull it off, I would sit and listen to 7 minutes of Freebird any night of the week by a band that can pull that off. And in fact, when I the first time I ever sang in front of an audience, I went to this little school in Indiana called Taylor University, and they put on this thing. You couldn't drink at that school, so they would have to, you'd have to kind of, you know, they'd try to provide. The weird thing about it is, like, so they'd provide these programs and people would actually go and participate because there was nothing else to do. It was in this like tiny town in the middle of Indiana, and it was a dry campus. And so they had this thing called Nostalgia Night. And what you did is you put together a band with fellow students and you had to perform a song that was like written or recorded. I don't know. They had a cutoff. It was probably like 20 years prior to whatever the date was. And I had just started to learn guitar. I had never sang in front of an audience before in my life. And my roommate was like, "Hey, you can sing. I'm scared to sing around the house. Like, let's do this." And so I sang in front of like 800 people first time I ever sang, and we did Freebird. But my thought on it was that, like, there's such a long guitar solo at the end. It's like, if I suck singing it, the guitar player is real good, so everybody will have forgotten about what I did by the end of the song anyways.
And I'm sure it was, you at least had a good time.
My mom has it on CD somewhere, DVD. That's or something,
awesome.
But I haven't had the guts to
you just
to watch
can't do it. So who are some of your influences coming up musically?
There's one primary influence would be Chris Knight. You
Love Chris Knight
at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
underrated. I mean, not enough people know about him.
Oh God, I mean, he's he's just hands down, far and away my favorite songwriter ever, and by far the most influential. And I'm not going to say you can hear it in my music at all, but because that would be, I just wouldn't say that. But he is far and away my biggest influence, and I've had a chance to open up for him several times now, and it's always a blast. And he just, I mean, he's just a songwriter, man. You know, I love because when I was reading an article, and I'm paraphrasing here, you know, he just said, you know, he'd look around the coffee shop, and that, so to speak, and there's stories everywhere, you know, and those stories deserve to be told as much as any of them. And those are just everyday life stories. And I just think that's just such a incredible and sensible approach to songwriting. And he does it, I think, as well as anybody does. You know, the other band that was really influential for me was Reckless Kelly.
Another great band.
Yeah, man, just love their style. And those were the two bands or groups I was listening to, like, right when I first really started to get into music in college. I was an athlete. I know, you know, in high school I'd put in like Metallica and Creedence Chronicles and Skynyrd and the new Eminem album, you know, which I think back then was like the first Eminem album. But you know, when I really started getting into music, and the Creedence Chronicles album, like, that was very formative for me too, because I think that's the first time listening to that album was the first time, like, I think really connected with songwriting and just a great sound. I mean, you talk about those dudes just had, I think, the best. I mean, nothing against like the Led Zeppelins of the world and the Queens of the world and all that stuff, but for my palate, the Creedence sound was just, that's it for me.
Well, and then it goes back to that rawness. I mean, their stuff
absolutely.
was raw and real, and you knew where they were coming from. You could tell exactly where they grew up and the life that they and the experiences that they had, and it's identifiable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely, and it was, it was basic and simple, and it rocked, and it had great lyrics, and lyrics are just so important to me. They just really are, and that's, I think, why I gravitated to Chris Knight. And then right when I was at the height of my, really getting into his music, is when I started learning guitar. And that was about the same time I was really, really into Reckless Kelly and Pat Green, and back before Pat Green went to Nashville, and not that I hold anything against him for that, but it seems like some of his best music was before then.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, not that there's any relationship there, but regardless of it, so that was kind of the stuff that influenced me the most early on, and shit, it still does, man. I mean, Chris Knight's new album, it took a couple spins for me to really get into it, but that's the first album in a long time that I've been able to sit down and just spin it and spin it and spin it,
just dissect it and
squeeze
it for everything it's worth, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I did that with Cody Jinks's last two that he just released.
Yeah, man. And Cody Jinks, like, I have so much respect for Cody Jinks. For some reason, I listened through both those albums, and they're good. They're great. And obviously, the amount of people buying them and listening to them speaks for itself. But for some reason, it doesn't click with me the same way some other artists do. Like the same way that Tyler Childers' first album did, or really, it was Tyler Childers that Live in the Red Barn Sessions. That album, I discovered it before they kind of rebranded it and put it onto one. It was in two different things, like on iTunes, and man, that is so good. And so Cody Jinks has never given me kind of that, I don't know, that feeling of just being completely overwhelmed with just lyrics and feel and all that stuff. But I know he does that for a lot of people, and I got a ton of respect for him for that.
But I love the fact, Tyler Childers is, I mean, that guy's incredible though. He can tell a story. And I think, and that's something else that, I give you a lot of credit for too. You tell a great story. And I love a good storyteller. I don't care if it's you're listening to somebody read poetry, or somebody's reading an excerpt from their books, from a book that they've written, or a songwriter. It's all music. It's all lyric. And the ability to tell a good story and hold somebody's interest for 3 minutes is not an easy task for anyone. I mean, I've been a musician my whole life. I know I could never conquer the songwriting aspect of it. I just couldn't do it.
Well, it's all about stories for me, and I think that's why it all starts and stops with Chris Knight for me, because the dude can just tell a story, Chris Knight isn't who he is because he's a beautiful vocalist, but he's raw. It's perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect for what he does. But his stories, and that's what it is. It's about stories, and Tyler does that really well. The thing about Tyler is a freaking vocalist too, and the expression in the way he sings is, man, he's a great singer. He's really got the whole package there.
So what do you and I'm just going to ask you this from a musician standpoint. What do you think of Sturgill Simpson's new one?
I haven't even listened to it yet, and I'm ashamed to say it.
Man, it's so different and so removed.
That's what I've heard.
because I listened to the album when it came out, and then I'm like, okay, I've got to watch the little anime movie. And then once you've listened to the album and then you go back and you watch that, it actually just plugged it into an amplifier and turned it all the way up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different and it's so unique, but you can't not, if that makes sense.
And I need to listen to it, and I kick myself. I'm really bad at keeping up on music. I think as much as I love music, it's always I'm around it all the time. I'm in it all the time. I'm participating in it all the time. I'm hearing it all the time. And so, you know, like when I'm in shit, I'll be at the gym sometimes and put on like talk radio, you know, or I'll listen to podcasts or this and that. And so one thing I was even thinking about, in fact, I put on John Prine Essentials today in the gym because I was like, you know what? And I've listened to John Prine a lot, but not as intentionally as I would like to. And so I actually made a concerted effort, like, all right, I'm going to listen to this record through today again. I'm actually potential it. So not to say I'm not the greatest at keeping up on new music and making sure that I listen as stuff comes out, and I need to get better at that.
You know, somebody else
songs,
you could listen to sometime just to digest it from a songwriter's aspect. Charlie Robinson.
Charlie Robinson. Yes, man. I really like some of his stuff. I used to listen to him a bunch, and just felt he's done. Didn't he quit or retire?
Yeah. But
yeah,
I mean,
so.
He's still, I think he got throat cancer or something like that. I mean, I could be wrong.
A bunch of vocal issues, wasn't he?
And his brother's a really well-known songwriter.
Bruce Robinson.
Bruce, yeah. And it's just, you know,
man.
He could tell a good story too.
Absolutely. That he had that album that, man, I burned it out. What was it called? Like Good Times or something? It was, that album was awesome. Pick up pizza, pineapple, ham, put it in the back of Good Times van. Like that whole record. Well, he wrote El Cerrito Place.
Yeah, El Cerrito Place. Right. New Year's Day. I mean, come on. In my hometown.
That whole record was so good. When El Cerrito Place came out, like that was one of those songs that you could just on repeat, man. And I think he had a music video, I think, out on CMT for that song long before Kenny Chesney covered that. That was Kenny Chesney that covered that, right?
Yeah. I can't remember.
Who was it? Is that right? I don't know. It doesn't matter because it wasn't as good.
Yeah, right. It's always whoever does the original always is better.
Yeah, and I remember because he had a music video. It was probably the one music video on CMT he probably ever had. But I used to spin that over and over and over again. That whole record was great.
Well, I know you were a busy man, but we're going to jump into what I like to call my bare bones.
All right.
Just some little easy, quick questions. You know, nothing too over the top.
Sure.
What's your favorite guitar to play?
You know, I'm not much of a tech guy, a gear guy at all, but I've got this old Songwriter Deluxe that I got from a crazy ex-girlfriend about 10, 13 years ago, that claimed that she got it from Tim McGraw. And I've got it covered in stickers, and I've had to have it pretty much rebuilt last year, and it's sounding good now. And I've just written so many songs on that thing that it's just kind of emotionally grown on me over the years. So that's really my main guitar. But I'm admittedly not much of a gear guy. You know, like tools for me. A guitar is just kind of a tool. You know, and I bang them around, and I just want them to work.
There you go.
I just want them to sound good.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, What is your all-time favorite book?
My all-time favorite book? Oh, man. I would probably say Out of a Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. It probably is the first one that comes to my head. It's the first part of this science or the space trilogy that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not one of the more popular books, but I would have to probably say that one would be my favorite.
That's a really good choice, by the way. And
Have you read it?
I've never read that one, but I've read so much of his other stuff, like Screw Tape Letters and everything. I got so absorbed into that. But nobody ever says C.S. Lewis, and I'm just like, wow, okay, another level of respect here.
Yeah, man, and if you, I'm a sucker for fiction. I like fantasy because reading is I read every day in the morning and the night before I go to bed. It's like my escape. So I don't like reading stuff that's too heavy or dark or realistic, you know?
Yeah.
So I read a lot of fantasy. So if you like science fiction, fantasy stuff, and you like C.S. Lewis, it's great. I love it. I used to read it once a year. I think I stopped a few years ago. So I'm going to pick it up again here in a couple of years.
I hear you. Okay, barbecue, pulled pork or brisket, and what kind of sauce? Or no, or just good dry rub.
Anytime I get brisket, I just got to try every sauce on the table that whatever restaurant has. And then I'll kind of just gravitate towards one or the other, and probably kind of inconsistent about which one I end up choosing because it depends on the restaurant. You know, everybody's sauces are so different.
Yeah.
So
well,
I don't have, and I'm not a diehard barbecue guy either. So it's kind of comes down to what's on the table.
No, I hear you. Well, and it also depends on what region you're into because everybody's got a different one.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the first record you ever bought or picked out for yourself?
Oh man, it's embarrassing. Carmen, I think, was the first record.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. That was some good music back in the day. You know, for all the good kids that were going to youth group and everything. That was some good stuff.
Yeah, man. I remember going. It was like coconuts or something in the mall. I went and had some money. I was probably in like 6th grade or something. My mom wouldn't let me have. I remember one time I asked for the Cranberries for Christmas, and my mom got it for me. And my sister was like, "What the hell? You wouldn't get us any secular music." And it's just because my mom didn't know that it was secular music. She just assumed I'd ask for something.
I love it. Start blasting Zombie for Mom, and she's like, "No,
yeah, right.
You're a sinner. I'm taking you back to church." Oh man. Okay, what was your first concert?
First concert. Okay, same vein, man. It was Newsboys.
Man, they put on a great show.
I can't remember.
See, I mean, I'm going back. You're kind of taking me back to my youth here too. When I was the good kid that did what they were supposed to do before I became me.
Yeah.
And rebelled a little bit. But no, Newsboys always. I mean, they were a great group. Oh
yeah, man! Like Newsboys and Audio Adrenaline and DT Talk when they came out with Jesus Freak and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was spinning in my player when I was in middle grade school, junior high.
Hey man, don't forget the Gaither Vocal Band because Michael English had the Gaither Vocal Band because Michael English had a set of pipes. And what was it?
That stuff doesn't make it into my playlist too often anymore.
Well, no, but like I said, you're kind of taking me back a little bit, and that's man. Reminiscing is never a bad thing. All right, you're gonna like this one.
That was definitely before music was a very important part of my life. I will say that.
Okay, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars, Star Trek, definitely Star Wars. Again, not like I've seen all the Star Wars. And again, it kind of falls into what I was talking about in my books. Like I like my movies not too dark, not too heavy, a little bit. I like them unrealistic so that I can't really relate and go to dark places. Okay. I go there enough on my own. But Star Trek, I've never had any interest in whatsoever, so I'll have to say Star Wars.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. Okay, what is your jam song? I don't care if you've heard it a million times. It comes on your playlist or pops up on the radio. Your volume's getting cranked up, and you're kind of digging it.
Yeah.
What would it be?
Anything Chris Knight. I know it's kind of redundant, but I'm going to be redundant, and I don't even necessarily have a specific one. But all that to say is because when I hear Chris Knight, it's like going home. And I don't know if it's because that was kind of when I was really getting into music, because I was just digesting so much of his music, or if there's something about the way he writes and the way he sounds. But to me, it's like coming home. And it would probably have to be Rural Route. If I had to pick a song, it would be Rural Route by Chris Knight. I grew up on Rural Route 1, Metamora, Illinois, 2 acres in the middle of my grandpa's cornfield that he gave my parents to build a house on before I was born. So I think that song would probably be the one.
I gotcha. Okay, person, living or dead, you'd like to take stage with?
I'd like to take what?
That you would like to take the stage with one time.
Oh, stage with. Man. Probably Waylon Jennings, just because I'd like to. I wouldn't even want to sing or anything. I think I just kind of want to play rhythm guitar and just watch him work. Because I would be intimidated as hell, but I'd probably have to say Waylon Jennings. Yeah.
Okay. Who besides yourself should people be checking out musically these days?
Let's see. I mean, obviously Chris Knight, but I don't want to I'll try to do something different, so as to not get too redundant. Like somebody who's lesser known, or just anybody
even somebody who's lesser known. I mean, if it's a buddy of yours, that plays that you think is incredible and people should be checking him out, hey, throw him out there. Let people hear about him.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple people that come to mind. There's Shane Dawson Band. We played with them. They're from down in close to Louisville, and we played a show with them. Got another show with them coming up, and he's a young kid, great buddy up here in my area, Troy area, called Nick Sizemore. He's got just a great voice, man. Has a passion for writing and writes good songs and does a lot of outlaw stuff. And then there's a band up here out of Peoria as well called the Harvest Sons, and I really dig what those guys do. It's like he sounds like Evan Felker in a sense. It reminds me of like Turnpike Troubadours kind of stuff. And those guys are all coming out with original music, and so I'd like to throw their names out there.
I'll definitely have to check them out because Evan Felker is kind of a hero of mine, and Turnpike is one of my favorites and one of the best bands I've seen live.
Oh man, I know what a great band. Sad situation.
Yeah, I hope they get everything worked out one of these days soon.
Boy, I hope so, man.
I
think a lot of people do.
Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, do you have a personal mantra or a life's philosophy, if you will?
The one thing. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think the one thing I always have to remind myself is to do the most with what you got, and because use that's it. Do the most with what you got. What I mean by that is wherever you're at, use the best resources you have to the best of your ability. And I applied that a lot, and continue to apply that a lot to running this. This is a business. This music is my career. It's my business, and but I don't have $1 million budgets. I don't have. I'm not working with Dave Cobb down in Nashville and in these big studios. We got to work with our budgets and work with the best players we can find and with the best studios we can afford, and that's kind of and all we can. And that's all we can do.
No, I get it. I like it. Okay, this is going to be a fun one for you. If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be and why?
You have to pick a dog, wouldn't you? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go with with a dog necessarily, because I mean I work at a zoo, so I get a little more creative.
The only reason, and this is my like real conservative Mennonite upbringing coming out of me, because I'm just thinking to myself, man, if you're a dog, like if like my dog's out there in the living room on this memory foam.
You got that cush life.
Memory foam, yeah. But then this Sunday, raccoon season opens up, so he's going to get to go run around the woods and chase raccoons. So he's,
awesome.
I don't know, every dog doesn't have it that good, but
no,
every dog, more dogs have it that good than like say cows do, or say raccoons do, for example. So I could get more exotic about it in terms of I could be a silverback gorilla and be able to pummel anything I ever came across. But those poor suckers are getting poached in jungles and their habitat's shrinking and all that stuff. So
that's
just
true.
From a survivalist standpoint,
you're going with a dog.
I'm going with a dog. Yeah.
And I heard the excitement in your voice when you started talking about raccoon hunting. Yeah. My best friend is a big time raccoon hunter. I mean, he is the president of the local coon hunting club and association.
And are you from South Carolina? Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Okay, I saw it come up on the phone. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal down in South Carolina.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, these guys are rabid about it. But he turned me on to coon jerky. Man, oh man.
Oh, what?
Man, we ate ourselves sick one night. I think we ended up eating 2 pounds of coon jerky. I mean, I was like, because he hands it.
Good.
Oh man, it is. It is. Well, he used to run a processing company, place for doing deer and everything else, and he would process bear and boars and everything else.
Yeah.
And he developed his own jerky seasoning, and he has this it's a 1 week process for, he lets it air dry in a cooler, maintains it, then everything gets ground up, then it goes into something, and his whole process. But then it comes out like a pressed jerky. But man, let me tell you, that is actually delicious.
Well, I think, and I've never had coon. I can't bring myself to even try it, but I think if anything proves that you can turn pretty much any meat into jerky and spice enough to make it taste good, I think you just proved it.
Yeah. Well, and I used to have a pet raccoon, so he's like, hey man, you want to go coon hunting with me? I'm like, man, I would love to, but every time I think about it, I'm like, I see my little buddy Bandit, and I'm just like, no, I can't do this. I said, no, you want to go hog hunting or deer hunting? Let's go. You want to go shoot some innocent birds? Let's go. They're delicious, especially duck.
I was just talking to a fellow yesterday because we were talking about going hunting out where he's from, about an hour away from here. Anyways, he was telling me about this big competition hunt. Not a competition hunt. I like to keep it fun. And he was saying they have one in their town, and he said several years ago, because I was telling him, I was like, those guys, a lot of them, they get pretty serious about it. And I'm just, I just like to go out for fun. He's like, yeah, they do. He's like, 2 years ago, one of them snuck into somebody's backyard and stole their pet raccoon for the competition hunt and got into a bunch of trouble.
Oh my gosh, man, that's horrible.
You really gotta want to win, man.
And you got to have a set of brass ones to go stealing somebody's pet raccoon. It must have been a big old sucker though. I mean, because if you're gonna take that risk and you're gonna steal it and you're gonna break some family's heart, you better have a big old raccoon that you bring back.
No kidding, man. Well, it's probably pretty easy pickings. The coon probably weighed about 45 pounds and barely climb up a small tree,
They had to throw him up in the tree just to get me able to say they shot him out. Wow.
Oh, man. It made me sick. I couldn't believe it when he told me that, man.
Okay, so what kind of dog do you hunt? If we're talking hunting,
I've got a red bone coonhound.
Okay.
When you asked me about what my favorite book was, the other one bouncing around in my head was Where the Red Fern Grows. When I was a little kid, I read that. I one time employed the technique with my dad. I would just say, hey, can I have a red bone? 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 Just because I'm obsessed with them. And I grew up, and they never let me have one, which is a good thing. We had a Basset Hound. He was great. I didn't need another dog that I wasn't going to take care of well enough.
Right.
But as soon as I got out of college and was on my own, I found a breeder and got myself a red bone. I'm on my second one now.
Nice. Yeah, my buddies hunt plots.
Yeah, I've never hunted with plots. I've hunted with walkers and red ticks and blue ticks and black and tans, but I've never hunted with a plot before. I heard they make good dogs.
Yeah, they do, and his is spoiled. I mean, he's won like grand champion and everything, and he's pretty much retired now. But that dog is treated better than his son. I mean, that dog is so spoiled. I mean, he'll send me a picture, and I'm like, you want to see what this damn dog's doing right now? And he'll send me a picture, and it's Hank laying he's folding himself up in a clothes basket on top of the warm clothes as soon as they came out of the dryer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, man, that dog is just as sorry as his owner is. He goes, well, he had to learn it somewhere.
Yeah, the good ones get treated like royalty. I've been lucky. Both my dogs have been. My first dog was really good. This dog, with my schedule anymore with music, I don't get to hunt near as much. But he'll show me a coon, But he'd be in here on the couch regardless whether that's the problem. If I ever got a dog that couldn't hunt worth a crap, that would probably be the end of my coon hunting days. I wouldn't get rid of the dog. I would probably just not go out coon hunting as much.
Now there you go. Well, all right. We'll get back to the other things. Give everybody your all your social media, where they can find you and where they can get your music from, and let's finish promoting you here.
Yeah, man. Thanks. The hub of everything is at my website, which is just joestammband.com. Pretty much anywhere, Instagram, Facebook. I don't do a whole lot of tweeting, but Twitter, YouTube. You can pretty much just search Joe Stamm or search Joe Stamm Band. There's 2 M's in my last name, like the candy. And you'll find it. The one thing to keep track of, like on Spotify or Amazon or Apple and stuff, is that I release some stuff that's solo project, like Songs Out of Home, the little record I just released, and this Live and Unplugged show that I'm going to release in February. Those are under Joe Stamm. And then I've got music under Joe Stamm Band as well. So this last release, even my sister was texting me like, I can't find any of your music on your new music on Amazon. She was looking for she was looking under Joe Stamm Band and not Joe Stamm. I don't know why platforms are really unhelpful and insist on doing that, but they do.
They just got to make it difficult for you.
Yeah,
it's like podcast. It's like finding a podcast. Some people choose. There's so many to choose from for that you can listen to that. Yeah. You got to put yourself on all of them, which is 10 times more work for the guy producing the stuff. But and then you just it's a wing and a prayer. Hey, somebody's going to listen to it somewhere. But one thing, and people will be able to listen to you on the Picks and Bones Spotify playlist, because everybody that comes on my show automatically goes on the playlist, so people can go listen to it. And you're going to be on there with some greats like Jackson Taylor from Jackson Taylor and the Sinners. And
he's listening a lot. He's awesome.
And I've got Gethin Jenkins coming on here not too long from now.
Oh, cool.
And then in the spring, I got Shane Smith. So he's a busy man.
Right on, man.
Yeah, so you're going to be on there with some badasses.
That's
for
awesome,
sure,
man. It's funny. Shane Smith, I opened for him about a year ago October. My girlfriend's a big fan of him, and those guys are great, man. He comes up with some really good stuff.
And he's such a nice guy too.
Yeah, he is. We were trying to get on a show with him recently, and I don't know if it was the promoter or if it was somebody involved was basically told me I was too country to open for Shane. Like,
all right, wait a minute. How do you get too country to open for Shane Smith? Because I don't know. Okay, maybe they consider him more Americana than country.
Yeah,
but
they do.
But he's still country.
And if you listen to some of my my most recent album. I think you could maybe take that away from it, but I had to get a laugh out of that.
Yeah, it's great.
December 18th, 1942. Azalea, my Azalea, I'm thinking of you. It's muddy and cold, but we'll win this war soon, and I'll be on a boat as soon as we do. And the lilacs bloom and the morels are popping, and there's days when the rain don't show no sign of stopping. I'll be on the train back to Kentucky with the smell of the lilacs and a ring in my pocket. January 10, 1943. Dear Azalea, my Azalea, what do you think of me? The rifle is hot and I'm sore on my feet, and these Germans are tough than you'd ever think. But when the lilacs bloom and the morels are popping, there's days when the rain don't show no sign of stopping. I'll be on a train back to Kentucky with the smell of the lilacs